Cancel culture has become a big part of our society today, but there seems to be some people who continuously do the most and never get called out for it. Or if they are, people stay mad for 5 minutes and then forgive and forget them like it never happened. Such is the case with some of our faves, like Gwen Stefani. Gwen has a long-standing history of cultural appropriation, but she's never been canceled. When I think about it, I can't think of any white woman who has successfully been canceled, but today, we're just focused on Gwen. Now, don't get me wrong, I've always been a huge Gwen superfan since her Love.Angel.Music.Baby days, and even when I was a kid, I was low-key put off by her Harajuku crew, who would awkwardly follow her around and never speak a word. But it wasn't until I got older I said, hold up, this lady has appropriated not just Japanese, but South Asian, Black and African cultures, and perpetuated stereotypes of Native American culture at different points throughout her career. So today we're going to get into each of those instances, but before that, let's take a look at Gwen's history of cultural appropriation from the beginning in her No Doubt days. Prior to her Harajuku days, when the Italian-American singer was still a member of her band No Doubt, she wore a bindi. That's the forehead dot considered a sacred decoration amongst South Asian women for religious and cultural practices. She wore the bindi in music videos including Just a Girl and on various red carpet appearances. As the lead vocalist of No Doubt, Stefani attributed this fashion choice to being, quote, so unbelievably fascinated by Indian culture, end quote, particularly after being introduced to Indian culture by her then boyfriend and fellow No Doubt band member, Tony Kanal. Gwen revealed in a 2019 Vogue video posted on her Instagram page that her ex-boyfriend, Kanal's mom, inspired her stylistic choice with her bindi and jewelry and beautiful fabric dresses, she has said. Despite her missteps, Gwen has been able to maintain a thriving career without any major cancellations. In a culture where social media prides itself on putting a dent in high-profile careers, Gwen has somehow been able to remain unscathed without her cultural infractions being used against her. But it doesn't end there. Appropriating Black culture too has been a constant throughout Gwen's career. In the 1990s, Gwen was seen wearing Bantu-knots and cornrows. Bantu-knots, which were labeled in the mainstream as mini buns, originated with the Zulu tribes in South Africa, yet they're still referred to by many as the 90s beauty trend started by Stefani. Kind of like the time when the Kardashians started wearing cornrows and the white media started calling them boxer braids. Please know that I'm rolling my eyes as I say that as a Black woman. Anyways, it doesn't end there. Gwen also faced backlash for appropriating African culture in 2016. During an episode of The Voice that year, her backup dancers wore African-inspired wardrobe for a runway sequence showcasing fashion designer Valentino's Wild Africa collection. Valentino also received criticism by adorning his white models with cornrows and bone necklaces. But that's a story for another video. Most recently, in 2021, in her Slow Clap collaboration with rapper Saweetie, Stefani was seen wearing gold bamboo earrings, long acrylic nails, and a full wrist of flashy jewelry in an obvious use of fashion trends that were invented and popularized by Black women. Bottom line, the idea of blending items from different cultures in some ways might seem innocent, but it's subjectively harmful when Gwen Stefani, a privileged white woman, rips off trends from disenfranchised minorities as a way to amplify her own career and image. She claims to love and respect all cultures, but she continues to be the only one profiting from them. Speaking of, her most famous instance of being a culture chameleon is in her infamous Harajuku era. Harajuku is a popular fashion district located in Tokyo's Shibuya ward in Japan. It's best known as one of the world's trendiest hotspots for youth culture and fashion. The Harajuku Girls were originally hired by Gwen in 2004 as backup dancers for her album Love.Angel.Music.Baby, also known as L.A.M.B. Each one of the Harajuku Girls shared a name with the album title, and they would appear alongside Gwen for almost every promotional appearance and performance for the album. They were also featured in her music videos for her singles What You Waiting For, Rich Girl, Holla Back Girl, Luxurious, Crash, Wind It Up, and The Sweet Escape. When they weren't backup dancing, her entourage of Harajuku girls will kind of just stand there and follow her around in awkward silence. Gwen said of this era, quote, "I never got to have dancers with no doubt. I never got to change costumes. I never got to do all of those fun girl things that I always loved to do. So I had this idea that I would have a posse of girls, because I never got to hang with girls, and they would be Japanese, Harajuku girls, because those are the girls that I love. Those are my homies. That's where I would be if I had my dream come true. I would go live there and I would hang out in Harajuku," end quote. At the time, she faced mild, scattered criticism for such culturally insensitive choices, but she never really addressed it. The only person who really said anything was the outspoken comedian Margaret Cho, who equated Stefani's appropriation and fetishization of the Japanese culture to be, quote, "kind of like blackface," end quote. Even though criticism has picked up steam in the years since, particularly given the rise of social media and cultural appropriation awareness, Gwen is still dismissive of cultural appropriation accusations. Instead, she chalks up her love of Harajuku culture as a sign of fascination and respect of the Japanese, insisting that her interest in the culture started at a young age and exploded when she visited Japan for the first time and was in awe of how fashion obsessed they were. Gwen says that she felt at home the first time she visited Japan and that her Harajuku-influenced album was meant as nothing more than a love letter to the culture that she had grown to deeply appreciate. She would later go on to create a Harajuku lovers clothing line that was sold at Target alongside a line of fragrances made up of 6 scents and a Harajuku mini fashion line, which is also sold at Target and brought in over $100 million in sales. To this day, Gwen stands firm in her belief that her Harajuku era was literally a bow down to a culture she was a super fan of. But wait, there's more. The label of cultural appropriator continued to follow Stefani even after she stopped featuring the Harajuku girls. Gwen has also ripped off CHOLA style, appropriating the Mexican-American aesthetic in her 2005 music video for her single, Luxurious. In the music video, Gwen is made up to resemble the famous Mexican painter Frida Kahlo and breaks open piñatas while seductively dancing in a Our Lady of Guadalupe shirt. Yeah, it's a lot. In the video, Stefani adopts a CHOLA style aesthetic, rocking thinly drawn on eyebrows, wife-beater tank tops, Dickies pants with suspenders, maroon lips with lots of liner, big aquanet bangs, a plaid shirt with only the top buttoned up, and an Old English style nameplate necklace. She also surrounds herself with Mexican-American extras and is the blondest, whitest woman in the video's backyard barbecue. Gwen has claimed to be mesmerized by CHOLA culture. Sound familiar? And 12 years later, in 2017, she stated that, quote, "Cholas had a huge influence on me," end quote. She credited her upbringing in the majority Latino Anaheim to be the reason. It's an excuse that's all too familiar and one that she seems to resort to every time she appropriates another culture, claiming that she's just so in love and wanted to pay homage. Since so many of these incidences took place in the early 2000s, you might think that enough time has gone by that Gwen would be regretful of her past transgressions and that she would eagerly offer up an apology. But in one of her latest interviews, Gwen makes it crystal clear that she continues to stand by her choices. Though her questionable fashion days may have appeared to have simmered down since the 90s and early 2000s, after reuniting with her band No Doubt in 2012, Gwen and her band faced backlash once again, this time for their stereotypical portrayal of indigenous people. The band was forced to pull their music from the 2012 single Looking Hot just one day after its debut, which featured the band members playing a game of cowboys and Indians. I know. In her article for Vice, journalist Juana Thompson said that she thinks the star managed to evade judgment for the most part because cultural appropriation had not yet become the national buzzword that it is today, and mostly because social media didn't exist back then, so there's no one to really cancel anybody. So is it cultural appreciation or appropriation? Stefani is one of many celebrities who has walked the fine line between the two. So tell me what you think about this video down below. Let me know in the comments whether you think Gwen is a cultural appropriator or just an appreciator. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. And thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.